Boom. We're here. So I wanted to record something quickly before the podcast. We're going to refer to this letter in a little bit, but a friend of mine who I grew up with, my friends are cops and robbers in real life. But this is a friend of mine, one of my best friends growing up, who's an African-American man, who's a police officer. I won't say what state he's in to protect his anonymity. But I've been asking him, for his opinion. I've seek counsel. I've said that. And I wanted to ask a lot of different people their opinion, but his opinion during this time and how he was feeling during this time was really important to me. So he wrote me a letter, and I'm going to take the time to read this letter, and we'll talk about it in the remaining pieces of the podcast. So here we go. Eric, first, thanks for reaching out and checking on me. A lot of people don't realize how much that might mean, but I truly appreciate it. I meant to get this to you earlier, but the days have been just flying by, and I keep writing and rewriting because the more I think, the more I have to say. A lot of people have asked me in the last couple of weeks how I feel as a black officer with what's going on in the world, and I always feel like that's a loaded question. I usually just say that it is what it is, but in all honesty, it's kind of lonely. I guess I feel lonely because after a while, you just become silent. Awkward family conversations about the things they see on the news and how they view things. It becomes tiring defending your career choice with your family. It's a shame that people make it seem like wearing a uniform wipes away everything else that I am. It's also a shame that people take the actions of one person and use that to destroy the relationship we've been building with the community over the past over several years. I can go on and on about how disappointed I've become, how hurt I felt over the last couple weeks. Millions of officers around the world put their lives on the line every day for everyone's freedom and rights, and it's all taken for granted. I'll be the first to say that there are terrible cops. I'll be the first to say that there are racist cops. I don't blame anyone for not trusting the system. In all honesty, I don't trust it either. I watched George Floyd's murder and felt sick to my stomach. I haven't met an officer yet that hasn't said anything else besides that officer was a dick. I felt for the first time everyone was on the same page. I pray justice is served, but at the same time, I'm watching other officers get charged with nonsense. I understand the anger. I feel the anger. Everyone assumes that being an officer wipes away the years of nonsense I've seen done in my community by the criminal justice system. I know there are guys who get on and forget where they come from, but people like you, E, won't allow me to do so. And I thank you for that. You keep me humble and at the same time allow me to grow. I don't know where to go from here. If you think these politicians care about you and us, we are sadly mistaken. Change isn't going to come from taking money from the budget. Change isn't going to come from prosecuting the officers for doing what they've been trained to do. Painting words on the street and burning cars isn't going to bring the change everyone is asking for and needs. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen with new laws and procedures written by emotions. It's time we finally sit down at the table and discuss what's broken in our communities. It's time that the black community realize that their police department works for them too. I hope this rambling makes sense. Thanks again for your support. An open letter. Boom. Boom.
Vultures circling above, they're all in a piece, but they don't even know my name.
Hey.
Swipe for the tree.
Hey.
Ride to the airport, gotta get right for the plane. Custom smell like kush. Wifey hand to the yes, and I got no shame. Some line to shine. With a broke you got
boom, boom, boom.
Waking up
Hey,
next to the scats.
hey,
Can't go home
hey,
with the dame.
we're here.
Tell themselves they're the same.
We are here.
They blame. No, don't blame them either.
Man.
When I play the game and they're eager still. I don't wanna know
Awesome,
you.
awesome, awesome.
You don't even know
So we just started the podcast with an open letter written from a friend of mine who is a police officer back east. He's a man of color. And I just wanted to hear his thoughts. And I read his letter, and it was powerful in the sense that we just don't hear what the officers are struggling with, and then they can't speak out on podcasts, and they can't speak out. They have to fall in line, right? They have to fall in line because that's the way, policing, that's the way the military works. You move as a unit, you move together. And if there's any dissent, you're then ostracized by your profession and your colleagues. So I want to thank him for writing that. He is stand-up dude. I have some friends who became cops, and you're like, fuck, you should have not become a cop, dude. You're going to be on the news. I'm waiting for it. So I have some of those friends, and I have some friends like this gentleman who I'm very proud of, and I'm proud that he is doing this work because I know he's a good guy. I've known him since I was a little kid, 19 years, he's a great guy. But a few things he said in that letter, the big thing, came at the end, which is a sentiment that I've expressed on this podcast a number of times, is that I'll read a little excerpt, back to what we're referring to. Quote, "I don't know where we go from here. If you think these politicians care about you or us, you are sadly mistaken. Change isn't going to come from taking money from the budget. Change isn't going to come from prosecuting officers for doing what they're trained to do. Painting words on streets and burning cars isn't going to bring about the change everyone is asking for and needs. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen with new laws and procedures written emotionally. It's time we finally sat down at the table and discussed what's broken in our communities. It's time that the Black community realize that their police department works for them too." That is controversial, but there's pieces of that echo the sentiment that I've, and the perspective I've provided on the podcast. Where he and I differ in opinion, I do think that those changes are going to come, and they may be symbolic, and they may be theatrics. Some of those changes, but they're not going to change the root, unfortunately. And there's two root issues on both sides. Whoa. I'm not that guy. I'm not just going to say there's two root issues to this problem. Take that shit back. People oversimplify this shit, and I almost did it. But if, I talked about with Anthony Avalos, this momentum I would like to see go inward, because you can change the systems. You can change the systems, but if we as a people, if I as a person cannot healthily function within the systems that are changed, then we're still stuck. And Black people, we do have an issue functioning within the system. Is it our fault entirely? No. But I don't think Master's going to come save us, to be honest with you. This system has been built on this. It's been built this way. And, I've said this ad nauseum as well. This system is working effectively just how it was built to work. historically. It's working exactly how it was built to work. And the system is making dollars. The system is bringing about power. So in order for us to function more healthily and productively through the system, we have to change and we have to play the game. At least my belief system. So, but also we need external change. I agree. We need external change. There's some things, not some things. We need an overhaul. We need an overhaul. But, I do think the police department works for us. In my neighborhood, I have very little fear of the police. Maybe that's naivete, but I want the police, patrolling my suburban neighborhood. But I don't want the police hunting in urban neighborhoods, and that's what we have quite a bit of the time. And the piece of defunding the police, and I understand where he comes from, where it's like, don't take money out of his mouth, don't take money out of his training and out of his department, and make it so officers don't want to do the job. That's probably not the smart way around it. And also, the phrase defund the police is very divisive, and it's a trigger. I don't like that word, but it's a trigger, and it's going to trigger more dissent, and it already is. Conservative politics has been playing on the idea of law and order for a very long time. It's a very old song, and by saying defund the police, they're just going to vote harder. They're going to say they want lawlessness. There we go. Now they're going to dig their heels deeper. I don't know the fucking answers, though. I don't know the answers. And I hate to say there because it's weird. These are my neighbors. These are my neighbors, and these are my people. And these are people I know. I know people in my family, in my community. But this isn't love for Master. This will lead into the next clip. And let me preface it by saying this. Let me promote this movie. I'm Not Your Negro. I watched it in 2017 in theaters when it came out, but I couldn't really perceive all of it. I really couldn't perceive all of it. I was like, damn, I just wasn't in the mental space to perceive all. I understood it and I appreciated it, but I've watched it again and I'm watching it a second time. I broke it up into pieces, but in the last 5 minutes of this movie, it talks about, so let me preface it. James Baldwin is asked about how he, is he hopeful for the future of America, for the Negro and for the black man and for the country as a whole. And I'm going to play this for you right now.
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be is an academic matter.
Hold on.
So I'm supposed to be. I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter. So I'm supposed to be an optimist. I'm supposed to believe that we can survive whatever we must survive. But the Negro in this country, the future of the Negro in this country is precisely as bright or as dark as the future of the country. It is entirely up to the American people and our representatives. It is entirely up to the American people whether or not they're going to face and deal with and embrace this stranger whom they maligned so long. What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. Because I'm not a nigger, I'm a man. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need him. The question you got to ask yourself, the white population of this country has got to ask itself, north and south, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the north and the south. There's just a difference in the way they castrate you. But the fact of the castration is the American fact. If I'm not the nigger here, and you invented him, you, the white people, invented him, then you got to find out why. And the future of the country depends on that, whether or not it's able to ask that question.
So I talked about this a few weeks ago, and that's on Netflix. You can find I'm Not Your Negro on Netflix. It's a documentary, visual essay regarding James Baldwin's unfinished book, where he talks about the lives of Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King, three men killed by assassinated in America during civil rights movement. I talked about this last week, or not last week, over the past few weeks, is that truth and reconciliation is, if we're thinking big picture, right? Like, if we're thinking big picture, because yes, we could paint Black Lives Matter on the street. Yes, we can change law. Yes, we can do all of those things. And I want all those things to be done. I want to see all those things be done. Symbolic gestures and judicial and systemic gestures. I want to see all that. But I don't need to, because my friends are Cambodian, my friends are Latino, my friends are Jewish, my friends are other Asian descent, Jewish, everything. My friends are everything. And I just treat them as homies. I don't feel the need to possess them. I don't feel the need to put them in boxes or stereotype them. I don't feel the need to do that. The question is, why did white people feel the need to conquer and rape and pillage in the first place? And if you look at the landscape of the globe, you see white influence on every continent has been to rape and pillage and suck resources. This is not by any means saying that all white people are bad. I don't think that. I'm part white. My son's part white. My family, my in-laws are white. My girl's white. No problem. Like, I don't think all white people are bad. But the symbol of whiteness and the conquering of foreign lands and the oppression of people, why do people feel the need to own slaves? Why do people feel the need to take power from a people? And the evidence is available to all of you. Hong Kong, the reason Hong Kong was protesting and has been protesting over the past number of years, maybe 2 years, is because Hong Kong was just released from British rule recently. And now they're fighting for their independence. And what China is doing, China is trying to make Hong Kong a, Chinese, under Chinese rule. But Britain just released Hong Kong under a 100-year occupation. The British in India, the Portuguese all over South America, the French in Haiti, the Spanish in the Dominican Republic. All over the world, there's been conquest and rape and pillaging. So the question I would propose to people is, I've said this on here, and you can quote me, check your heart. Why do you feel the need to say certain things to a black person? Why do you feel the need and the power and that you have the right to discriminate against others? I don't feel like I have that right. I don't feel like that. Naturally, I just don't feel like I am going to dominate another people. I just don't feel like that. So that's the question. And people say, like, I didn't do that. My ancestors didn't do that. And I understand that. But we have to ask these questions. And I hate to say have to, because that's very definitive and blah, 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 contradicting myself. I'm allowed to be wrong. But that's the truth and reconciliation I'm talking about. Let's be honest. Let's be honest about where we are and how we got here. And I think that's a very interesting point. But I'm a little bit of a not pessimist based off of James Baldwin's. I'm not a pessimist, but I think I'm being a bit of a realist. And I think the current climate expresses this, and the evidence is available. A lot of people are not even close to willing to acknowledge that. this information, these facts that I'm providing today. I think most white people, you see it. Black Lives Matter? No, all lives matter. Why the fuck? Why is there beef? A lot of us feel that our lives are not valued at the same as yours. But you can't, you can't even give that any validity. Well, he shouldn't have been committing a crime. The cops are not judge, jury, and executioner. People will say that N-word should have followed orders. Damn. It's darkness. Candace Owens as well. And that school of conservative black thinking comes from the same school of thought, So, back to my original point from a couple weeks ago and a callback to my friend's open letter. It is up to me and my sphere of influence and my friend's sphere of influence and my family's sphere of influence to save ourselves with economic freedom, save myself with building political influence in whatever capacity that may be, to execute my right to vote in this country, that right that people died for, that Martin Luther King marched for. That is what I got to do individually. But we need that momentum going outward, but I need that momentum for me going inward. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that momentum going inward. So it's a positive thing. Boom. That was that. But in my personal life, you know what, man? And I'm not a victim. I think that I'm receiving all of my karmic consequences. I really think that. I really think I put a lot of pain into the world. I really put a lot of pain into the world. So a little bit of suffering is going to come from that. You don't just, I'm not a sociopath. You don't just get to be shitty to people and shitty to the world and not feel pain after. Some people can, but that's a sociopath, right? But for me, I felt a lot of karmic consequences for the energy I put out in the world. I was listening to Rod Wave, he's not even up and coming. Well, he's up and coming. He's not everybody knows who he is. But he makes a lot of music about it's very emo, singy hip hop. He raps and sings, very gritty, fat guy, raspy voice, a lot of piano in his music. It's a very specific Rod Wave sound, and I really enjoy it. But he talks about his trauma and being backstabbed and not being liked and being emotional and hard to love and all those things. And I just cruised around today before the podcast. Just cruised around for about 45 minutes. I've been doing that a lot. It's just cruising, spending a lot of time in my mind and alone, just cruising and pondering. That's where I get ideas for the podcast, and I stay creative. But I was listening to his music, and it really resonates with me because we talk about trauma, and I try not to be like on that fucking wave. You know what I mean? I try to be a bit of a contrarian, but I lived a traumatic ass life. There was a lot of violence, a lot of me manipulating, a lot of mental breakdowns. I had a lot of mental health breakdowns, which externally people think like, oh, Eric's doing this, but internally, the breakdown of integrity of your own mind makes you not be able to trust yourself, and it's made it so I pacify myself, and I'm scared to offend everybody, and Eric's acting crazy. Like, it's just fuck, man. It's been so heavy. It's been a heavy weight on my back for my entire life, and I really think I'm ready to like walk in a promise, walk in some positivity. I think I paid my dues. I think I paid my dues, man. I felt a lot of pain, and if I hurt people, I did not hurt them and then live my best life after. I hurt people and spent years. we talk about mental health, mental illness, and all that stuff. And I joke about it and I speak pretty candidly about it. But there was between 2016 and the end of 17, I couldn't leave my house. I'm being dead ass. I couldn't leave my house. Had anxiety attacks, couldn't sleep, haunted my own home. You know, I still deal with insomnia today once every couple weeks. I call it haunting your own house. You become scared of your own house because it's just you pacing back and forth. And some people are night owls. I'm not a night owl. I need to sleep. 9 o'clock, I want to sleep until 5:30. I don't want to wake up. I spent so many and the reason I trained clients at 5 a.m. is because I couldn't sleep. So it's like, oh, I'm already up. Might as well train people. But I've dealt with emotional consequences. I've had unstable relationships. All of those experiences were fucking traumatic. And I don't take anything away from the people who I hurt because it's traumatic for them too. But I'm just saying I think I'm ready to move the fuck on. Tired. I'm just tired, man. But when I talk about there's a lot of manufactured positivity. I don't have any manufactured positivity. I'm very grateful for my life. And I have a dope-ass life today. I get to do what I want. Someone asked me, what is success to you? And I'm successful in the sense that I say I'm going to do anything that I want to do. Anything. I want to put out a book, no matter whether it's valuable to you or not. I say I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. Podcast, do it. Business, do it. I do whatever I want. That's successful to me. And I'm ready to just own all of it. I'm ready to just have all of it. And I'm not entitled either. Like I said, I want to pay my dues. I paid my dues. I got scars all over my body for the dues that I paid. You know, got my 50 cent bullet hole cuts all over my body. Man, the darkness that we made it through. So shout out to Rod Wave for making music that speaks to me. So yeah, man, heavy podcast today, but it's all good. You know, had a really dope 4th of July. And I didn't celebrate that day, you know, because like I said, actually, I'm not even going to get back into it. 4th of July is not a representative of who I am and not a representative of people like me. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. 4th of July, Columbus Day. They're not for me. They're not for me. But what I did do is spend some wholesome family time. Went to see the seals and watched the fire sunset. I'm living my best goddamn life in San Diego. If the sunsets here, the sunsets in California, it's like, oh, so this is just a better place than everywhere else. Don't come here either. Don't come here. Our county was the only county not shut down for COVID. It's like, hey, you fucks, don't come get us sick. Stay where the fuck you are. But you know, went to Hoya Coves, watched the sunset from, you know, the last 2 hours of sunset. So we watched the whole thing and hit, you know, the sun hit and go past the ocean. And, you know, the world is flat. So it just ended up on that side and just hangs out on the other side of the edge of the earth. It just hangs out the bottom and then it comes back another way. Do your own research, okay? Do your own research. Have you ever seen space, dude? The earth is flat. I don't care what anybody says. But got to watch the sunset. Then we got salt and straw ice cream, bougie ass ice cream. Then we went to another spot, went to the harbor and sat and looked at the beautiful ass city. When you drive through it, you're like, God damn, this is pretty. Then we ate authentic street tacos in Barrio Logan. Hey, let's go. Son went to bed. Perfect evening. My girl did tell me to suck a fat dick that night, though. Because I just wasn't a team player. And she was like, suck a fat dick. I was like, God damn. Who taught you to use that language? It's okay. I'm not mad at her. I needed to suck a fat dick that day, apparently. You know, and she doesn't talk like that, so she gets a pass. She gets a pass. And, you know, sometimes, Eric, you deserve to get cussed out more often. I should get cussed out way more than I do. I'm very difficult to work with. I just know exactly what I'm trying to do, and I do exactly what I need and try to do. And it's like when I put my mind to something, we're doing it. This is what I'm fucking doing, and we're going to get it done. Like, that's just the way I'm very action oriented. Like, hey, we have this thing to do, let's do it. And not everybody works like that. Some people work as a team. I work better individually, or I work better with people as a team where the team can deal with me. Like Matt, shout out to Matt. I make amends to him and apologize to him quite often. He's the engineer who runs all the back end of the podcast. He deals with me. Shout out to Missy, Capture Off Imagery, who does all my video photo content. Shout out to Tim Babineau, her husband, who shoots all my video content on the website. You know, they all deal with me, man. They all deal with me, and you know, make everything look and sound and go smoothly. And I just fucking yell and like bitch and be an asshole, you know. But got shit to do. We got shit to do. Shout out to Benny, who also got this going and has to deal with me as well. He deals with a lot, and he's my best friend, so he deals with my personal life and my professional life. You know, I appreciate all these people. I do, because like I said, I think is only as far as I can think, and I am more of a vision person. I see a big thing. And I'm like a bull in a china shop to get there, and I just fucking hit the gas, and try to get there. And like people along the way, I'm running over babies and shit, ruining relationships. But you make amends, you own it, and hopefully people accept you for who you are. And when you get rich, you just make sure everybody else is rich too, and they'll be like, all right, he's an asshole, but we're rich. So I'm hoping that works. You know, but also treat people better, make amends when you're wrong, quickly admit that you were wrong. I think my best friend's moving out here from New York, you know. I think we're going to live together again. I hope he knows that I have 2 fucking children, and those young days of sleeping in and all that shit are over. So in my part-time place in San Diego, I think he'll stay with me here, and I think he'll stay with me here in my part-time place. And yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. But we're gonna wrap it up. Oh, I'm on TikTok, and TikTok is popping. Not for viewing content, but TikTok is popping for the kind of content I put out. We'll be putting clips up, exclusive clips from the podcast that didn't make it to my Instagram page. And they'll, it'll be on TikTok at Eric Reyes, just my first name, and you can see what we're doing. We'll have something up every day, so stay tuned, looking for that. Got some great feedback on the first video. Instagram Eric_Big Mood Coach, website bigmoodcoach.com, YouTube channel. If you're watching this, you're already on it, but if you're listening, YouTube channel Big Mood TV. We out here. We're on every platform, my baby. We're doing this. We fucking live. We out here. We're grinding. And we're out. Peace.
Vultures circling above, they all in a piece, but they don't even know my name. Won't get even to swipe for the train. Cloudy, ride to the airport, gotta get right for the plane. Custom, smell like kush. Wifey hand in a tish. Yes, and I got no shame. Some line to shine. With a broke if you got no game. Waking up next to a scat. Can't go home to a dame. Nah, tell themselves they're the same. Really though, who can they blame? I don't blame them either. They just wanna play the game and they're eager still. I don't wanna know you. I'm busy. You don't even know thyself. Grizzy, out for the dough. Busy's, it's where to grow my wealth.